out to the people. Okay, so welcome to the webinar, 3 things that all teams need to set them up for success. And today I'm going to be sharing with you 3 things. So primarily the insights that I've gained from working with small businesses and equally large leaders in bigger organisations. Answer any questions that you might have about some of the stuff that I'm going to share with you. And ultimately, with your permission, to introduce you to my Fundamentals of Leadership programme at the very end, if you like what you hear.
Okay.
Okay. So, first of all, what is it that you are looking to get out of the session? What was your reasons for kind of joining?
I think we're expanding, Chrissy. We're going to be taking on, and it's a bit of a minefield. So, you think you can get on with everyone, and I'm sure most people think we can. But I think our issue is going to be where we have to have a firm word with someone without it coming, because I think if you're very easygoing and then suddenly something arises and you've got to say something serious, I don't want that to come across as being nasty with it. I think we've got to get that balancing act between being very friendly and people want to work with us, but also understanding that ultimately they've got a role and a job. So that's kind of that happy medium. And I think I've always struggled with that. And that's why I think when I was in the bank and I was wondering why other people get promoted around me, it was because I was so good at what I did and they didn't see me being strong enough. I don't think strong's the wrong word, isn't it? It's be or have the authority enough, if you know what I mean. Whereas a strong word needs saying for me to be able to say it. So I think that's even more important now that I'm not employed. It's our business. We've got to make sure that we lead from the front and everything. And we did that in the pub. Everyone, we always made sure that we did the jobs nobody else wanted to do. So we'd empty the ashtrays and we'd collect the glasses. So they all saw us doing that as owners of the business, and you're leading from the front, aren't you? So I think we've got to,
yeah. Okay, that's lovely. Thank you for sharing that. So session today is hour long. It's going to be in 3 parts. The first part I'm going to share is the reality as I've seen it. So in my experience of working with smaller businesses, what happens, or what I've seen happen, what people are talking to me about what happens, and how that reality kind of manifests in the day-to-day, and the results or the effects it has on the results that people are trying to achieve. Then I'll share with you the 3 things that I think summarises the things that everybody needs from a leader perspective, but also from a team perspective in order to set them up for success. And then finally, the process. So how you can address some of those things by putting some simple people, systems and processes in place. First, a very quick bit about me. So who am I? I'm Chrissy. My business is uTransition. I specialise primarily in coaching and developing business owners and their teams. Primarily focusing on professional services, so people like solicitors, accountants, etc., and accidental leaders, so people that set themselves up in business, possibly on their own, and then the business has been successful and grown, and they've got to the point where they now have a team, or they're looking to take on a team of people. My background is corporate operational roles and also corporate learning and development background. And I suppose from all of that work, the big theme that comes out for me is that there's a big difference between knowing something and doing it. And it doesn't actually matter what you know as a leader, what you think you know, the success comes from the actual application of that knowledge day to day and the consistent application. So hopefully that's what I'm looking to kind of share with you in the next hour. So what have I experienced or what have I seen people that I've worked with, what's been the reality for them? So, and I don't know whether this resonates, but you train and you train to be the best in your profession. So you're excellent at what you do, and you do it because it excites you, you're passionate about it, and perhaps for some of you, you've wanted to do it since you were little. You're really good at it. Perhaps you're fantastic, you're great at it, and you got to a point in your career where you didn't want to work for somebody else, so you set yourself up on your own. You put in loads of hard work. you got it to a point where your business is really successful and you're just too busy for you to manage the work on your own. So you recognize that you need to take on somebody else. So you recruit somebody. And then you realize that you perhaps need to recruit somebody else. So you're continuing to be successful and grow. Maybe you've taken on family, maybe you've taken on friends, or maybe you've just taken on the first person that you came across. And somewhere along the line, you realise that managing a team is harder work than you thought it was. That things are happening that you can't quite put your finger on why they're happening, but they're causing you problems either for yourself personally, for the team, or maybe for the business as a whole. Perhaps you've set precedents, you've allowed things to happen, or you've given permission for things to happen that maybe have then caused you problems down the line. People might get to a point where they feel that they are being taken advantage of, or the team are paying lip service. They're listening, but they're not doing what they're agreeing to, or they don't feel that people are listening to them appropriately. And ultimately, you get to the point where you realise that the joy's been sucked out of your business, passion that you had has kind of gone, and you find yourself reminiscing and thinking, well, life was just easier when it was just me, when I did it on my own, and actually this whole team thing is a hassle. But it doesn't have to be. Some of the symptoms that you see in a business, and business leaders that I work with, business owners I work with, have experienced, if you get it wrong, you can have all of those things on the right-hand side there, from constant sickness and absence, people not turning up or not being reliable, people being recruited and leaving fairly soon after joining. You end up with low morale, whether that's from yourself as a business owner feeling frustrated, or trying things and it, never getting to the point of working, or whether that's the team. We end up with a focus on task, losing productivity, and people generally not being happy. And then overwhelm kicks in because we're working long hours, we're not taking breaks, we're always on call, and so on. Main reasons that people leave any business, and some of the things on the screen there, that they are researched research results, are that actually, in a business, if people can't see a way to progress or to personally grow within the role that they have, they want to go somewhere else. If we've got inefficient management, so we don't know where we stand, or we don't know what we're expected to do, or there's inconsistencies, that's likely to cause them to want to leave. If we don't feel appreciated or recognised, if we've got an inflexible work environment or a poor culture, all of these things can manifest into causing us to be unhappy in what we do and ultimately wanting to leave. And from a business owner perspective, that causes us all sorts of problems, mainly in terms of costs. And those costs aren't not just about the person that we are recruiting in terms of what it costs for us to hire them and then train them. It also costs us in terms of our own productivity, or the time that it takes for us to retrain or re-recruit, or to deal with the fallout of taking on the wrong people. So actually, there's a lot of benefit in us getting it right first off, having those foundational systems, processes in place, and getting things right from the get-go. We've also got COVID challenges being thrown into the mix. So staff re-evaluating their roles. So people not wanting to stay in the jobs that perhaps they've done for a while, recognising that perhaps there is a different calling for them in life, or they want to do something else because they've experienced a hybrid working environment that they hadn't had access to before. There's a different set of skills and knowledge and competencies around working in a hybrid environment as well. So we have to learn new behaviours, we have to learn new skills. And there is generally this kind of shortage of people that are ready and available to step into vacated leadership and management positions. Those people that want to be in a position of leading a team. So there's lots going on in not only the workplace, potentially the workplace environment, but also the outside world. And what do I see? Well, when I work with most business owners, we've started off here. So that kind of, I'll just keep going. I'll just keep going. I'll just hope that if I keep doing what I'm doing, I'll get something different and I'll get a different result. But actually, all it is we're sticking our heads in the sand and we're hoping that the world will change when in reality it won't. So, what do I see? Three things typically that all teams and leaders need to put in place then. So for me, it starts off with our people processes, and most businesses will have some form of strategy in place. So most businesses hopefully will have a business plan. Most businesses hopefully will have a marketing plan and plans to help them focus on things like technology and growth and that kind of thing. Very few people, in my experience, have people plans in place or people strategies. So our people strategies should absolutely be aligned and completely aligned to where our business is trying to get to overall. So at the top, as you can see on the screen there, we've got our mission, the reason why we exist, what's our purpose, what's our reason for being here. Our vision in terms of where are we going, direction, where are we going as a business, what are our values, which is about how we do things around here, what the kind of the organization we want to create. And then we've got our strategies that sit underneath. So in there, we will have things like business strategies, growth strategies, people strategies, hopefully, marketing strategies, and so on. And under each one of those, we'll have the relevant objectives. So what are the objectives that we want to have, need to have in place in order to make those strategies work so that we can deliver our vision, our values and our mission and ultimately get the business results that we want. The goals and initiatives then become part of what we set out and what we help individuals or teams to align to in order to deliver those overall objectives. Clarity for me, or the key point for me is that your people processes absolutely need to be set up and aligned to help you deliver your business results. So they should be clear and they should be held and delivered consistently, and that requires strong leadership. So this model here is quite a useful one when you're thinking about what should your people processes look like. So if you take it at a top level and at a business level, the result is what you're ultimately trying to achieve as a business. So that might be your KPI figures, your key performance indicators. What's your overall growth or your overall financial aim for the business? What is the result that you're trying to achieve over a given time? And that could be over a 5-year, 3-year plan type scenario, or it might be about an annual plan. But ultimately getting really clear on what is that business result you're trying to achieve. And then below that, we need to work out what are the components of performance that will deliver that result. So it might be around then some of those key strategies. So it might be some business elements or objectives. It might be some IT or technology components. It might be people components. It might be around resources or things that you've got in place, but breaking down what are the things, what are the components, what are the things I need in place that will help me deliver that result, and being really clear about where then they're at. So that's the capability part. So if for example I need a team and the result I'm trying to deliver is a particular level of sales growth, what then are the skills that team of people or the individuals within that team need in order to deliver that sales growth? And the capability bit then is the assessment of those skills. So where is this person already? What do they know? What do they have in place? What are they able to do? What do I need to maybe teach them or show them or build on the knowledge or the experience that they already have? And then the actions for performance, that green box, that's really about you deciding and taking the appropriate action or inserting the appropriate action at that relevant level, dependent upon what it is that you've identified are either the components of performance or capability. So it could be that an action might be about setting a particular process in place. It could be that an action is about communicating that strategy. It could be about setting objectives. It could be that I need to train somebody, or I need to get some mentoring in place, or I need to have some on-the-job training or off-the-job training, or some form of other action that's going to help that individual build their capability, build their skills, their knowledge, their behaviours, in order for them to deliver those components of performance that are relevant to their role, which will then help me deliver my result. Okay, so hard truth. As a business owner or a leader of a team, you're ultimately responsible for creating the culture and the results of your business. Whether we like it or not, we are always being judged. People, our business colleagues, our teams, they're always looking to us and making judgments about the things that we do and the things that we say and the things that we don't do and the things that we don't say. So we're in a place where we cannot not communicate. So whatever we do, whether we choose to do nothing, whether we choose to do something, whether we choose to say something or say nothing, we are actually communicating to our team, to our people. And that influences and impacts their own attitudes and behaviours. Now, whether we intended that message to be received in the way it has been doesn't matter. The employee attitudes and behaviours are directly impacted by ourselves, by what we do or don't do, what we do or we don't say. And that ultimately drives our business performance. So it becomes even more important to recognise what we are doing or what we're trying to achieve as a business, what that breaks down to in terms of our strategies and our objectives, and then how that builds in from a people perspective. So getting really clear on what our role is, but also the role of the team and how we communicate that effectively. So from my experience of working with business owners, the three things that hampers performance, and these aren't the only three things, but they are biggies. First one is a lack of clarity. And that's a lack of clarity about not really knowing what things look like in practice. So what are the results that I'm trying to achieve? Not really quite sure about that. I've not clear about my own role. So as we start to take on people in a business, we start to move away from being the only one, or maybe the only one of two or three people that are doing that particular thing, and starting to step back and perhaps operate at a more strategic level, or hope to operate at a more strategic level. But if we're not clear about what that role now looks like for us, there's a danger that we're going to keep dipping into and doing the things that we've now recruited other people to do. So there's a lack of clarity about what we're here to do, what our role looks like and feels like, sounds like, but also then what does the role of our team members look like and sound like, feel like. We then have a lack of clear communication. So if we don't know what we're trying to do, what we're trying to achieve, and what that looks like, we're going to be unable to communicate it or unable to communicate it effectively. And if we can't do that, then we end up with all sorts of stories going on. So people will create their own stories, they'll make up their own understanding of what you've asked them to do, or you will think you've asked somebody to do something and they will be on a totally different page, and we get miscommunication, a misalignment of results, and that then leads to frustration, and all sorts of other problems. We tend not to then be able to hold people to account effectively, or we avoid difficult conversations because we're not really quite sure what we asked them to do in the first place, or we think that we're sure, but we know that we fear that there's potentially going to be some form of disagreement from the other party. And that ultimately then leads to a lack of trust and collaboration. So a real breakdown in relationships and fundamental things that are key to a team, not only a team in general, but particularly a small business, a lack of trust and a lack of collaboration. So we can end up in a place where I don't trust people to do things because actually when I've asked them, or when I think I've asked them, they don't do what I want anyway. So what's the point? So I mistrust them. And then the team don't trust because they don't feel trusted. So they don't trust you. And then we have this whole cycle of kind of knock-on effects of behaviours and assumptions and miscommunications that go on. So by the time we've kind of got to this place of lack of trust and collaboration, we've almost cycled back to point one again, where we have this lack of clarity, this lack of clear communication, and so on. So we have a cycle that perpetuates. But it's not your fault. It's absolutely not your fault. So it's okay. It's all sortable. It's all rectifiable, and everything can be sunshine and rainbows eventually. Very often there's very little support for, if you're a leader in a business, there's very little support for you stepping into a new role. Quite often people are promoted on their ability to do the last job that they did very well, rather than looking at somebody's potential or capability or readiness for that next role. And as small business owners, as I kind of mentioned earlier, very often we've started off our business because it was something that we were really passionate about, something that drove us and motivated us, and we were inspired to do. And we've got to the point where we're really successful and we've taken on a team, but it wasn't necessarily part of the original plan. And now we maybe don't know where to go to get that help or get that support, or maybe don't realise that there's a problem until a little bit further down the line, when things aren't perhaps going the way that we wanted them to be. The other thing to think about is, as you step away from your original role, so as you step away from being the doer in a business, or the higher up you go in a business or an organisation, the less your role becomes about actually doing the day job and having the technical skills and knowledge, and the more it becomes about inspiring people, motivating people, being able to lead in a strong and assertive way, in a collaborative way, to communicate effectively and really get people on board so that they can help you deliver those results. So your technical skills and knowledge, whilst they are absolutely very important, start to take or start to have less of an importance in terms of how you go about doing your business and your role. So often that can be quite frustrating for people, because the thing they came into business to do isn't the thing that they actually end up needing to do as they grow a team. So what's the process? So for me, it's about setting strong leadership foundations. So being really clear about and being able to set clear goals and objectives, to be able to communicate really effectively and have strong communication processes in place, and to be able to have routines, rituals, relationships, systems and processes that enable you to continually build trust and build collaboration. So what does that look like? So for goals and objectives, I mentioned earlier that hopefully we've all got a business objective or a business plan in place that helps us understand what we're trying to achieve as a business. It's really important that those the goals, the objectives that we have are aligned. So if we don't have one, then we need to decide what our purpose is, our reason for being, our vision, our mission, and get really clear on that. So if we haven't got that in place, get some support or think about what that means for you. We also need to agree our values. So if we don't have a set of values in place, and remember that's kind of the how we're going to do things around here. So what's really important to us, how we're going to deliver the way we are, how we're going to deliver those vision and missions and our purpose. Then again, it's really important that you set those in place. If you're taking on a team, and maybe you don't have a team already, you know, whatever your vision and values are as a business owner, it's really important that the team can continue to live and breathe those for you and with you, because after all, it's your business. It's the reason that you set up your business, and it's what you want your business to continue to deliver. So bringing people on board that are either aligned with those values already, because maybe they're their own, or that they can understand them and buy into them, is really important. And then we need to create a people strategy. Now that sounds quite fancy and quite complex, but actually it's not. It's just about, as I mentioned earlier, thinking about all the things you need in place that will help your people understand what they've got to do day to day, understand what everybody else needs to do day to day, and how the two sit alongside each other, having it communicated effectively, and then deciding what those vehicles are for the communication process. And then what else needs to go in? So is it training? Is it a career management? Is it off the job something? Is it a mentoring program? What are all the things that need to happen in order to keep your people happy, knowledgeable, up to date, engaged, motivated, and delivering a great job for you? I mentioned this a moment ago, so get clear on the role, on your role. So if you are stepping away or stepping away to do something differently to what you were doing when it was just you, or just you and a couple of other people, getting really clear on your new role, what it looks like, what it sounds like, what it's accountable for, what it's not, what it does, what it doesn't, is key, because that will have a knock-on effect to the team members that you take on. So get clear on what you want them to do as well. So what's your reason for wanting that other team member or members in your business? What roles do you want them to have? And can you explain it clearly? So Man on the Moon, there's a story about, and whether it's true or not, I don't know. JFK is supposed to have gone to NASA when they were putting the man on the moon, and he's supposed to have been walking around NASA and bumped into a cleaner, somebody sweeping the floor, and has said to said person, "What is it that you do here?" And the cleaner said, "I'm helping to put a man on the moon." So it wasn't, "I'm sweeping the floor, can't you see I'm cleaning around this bit?" It was about him understanding that his role as a cleaner was vital in relation to all the other jobs that kind of were helping to put that man on the moon. Cleanliness was infinitely important. If things weren't clean, you know, a microcosm of dirt or whatever could have stopped that mission from happening. So can all of your team members describe what they do and describe what they do in relation to everybody else? And can you do that as well? Are they all aligned to that vision, mission, and purpose? So what's your version of the man on the moon? What is it that they are here to do? And do they truly understand that? That for me then means that they need job descriptions and clear objectives. So have you got a job description in place for every team member? Now, some people might be doing the same job, so they'll have similar job descriptions, but are there nuances within that? So within a generic job description or a general job description, are there then differences that some people will do, some things some people will do versus others in the team? And do we need to be clearer on that? And really importantly, what are the objectives that you want somebody to have? Can we get them bought into delivering those objectives, and maybe they can create those or some of those objectives with you? But if I don't know what I'm being measured against, if I don't know what my objectives are, then actually it makes it very easy for me to do what I think I should be doing rather than what you want me to be doing. So objectives are kind of the starting point for me. And then we need to bring them to life. So, you know, a job description, objectives are just words on a page. How do you bring them to life so that people are really clear about what that looks like, what it sounds like, what it feels like when I'm doing it day to day? How is it different from what the person next to me is doing or from what you as the boss are doing? How can we be really clear that we have laid out the boundaries, the overlaps, and clarified everything that needs to be clarified so that people are really clear? And then this is also really important for me, it's vital. So being able to give people regular feedback on their performance against those objectives, and also for you as the leader to seek feedback on, you know, how you're delivering against your element of that, whether it's communication or maybe you've got a crossover relationship into some of the objectives. But constantly seeking and giving feedback is really important in terms of objectives, people management in general, but also in terms of the next point. So if everybody is really clear on their goals and objectives that they're working towards, they'll be much more likely to work together. They'll be much more likely to be aligned, and we'll all have the same direction and the same focus, which is motivating for people. It's motivating for us as individuals, but it equally be motivating for business owners as well, knowing that your business is working towards the direction and continually working towards the direction that you want it to. So clear communication then, and for me, this is probably the most important thing in business, well, in life in general, really. Many things fail because we think we've communicated more effectively than we have, or we've misinterpreted what we've heard, what we think we've heard, or maybe we've not checked out enough. But effective communication is essential, for a team. Teams not only need to be able to communicate with the owner, the business owner, the line manager, but also effectively with each other as well. So creating structures or opportunities for people to be able to do that effectively is key. It's not only about instructing, it's about listening, active listening, clear and concise messaging, giving and receiving timely feedback as well. So make sure you know what your people processes and systems are. And if you've really thought about your results originally, you'll be clearer or much more able to think about the people systems that you need to have or need to put in place in order to deliver those results for you. So that could be things like having regular one-to-ones. Now, if you've set objectives for people and they know what is expected of them, they know what the measures are, they know the timescales for those delivery, they know what good looks like, they know what it looks like because you've brought it to life in terms of that day-to-day. Having regular one-to-ones with you and being able to give them feedback will enable them to recognise whether they are doing a good job, give you an opportunity to kind of praise and support them to continue to do a good job. But equally, it will enable you to also step in early if things aren't going to plan, if things aren't maybe where you want them to be, or perhaps if they're struggling and they do need your support. Those regular one-to-ones will make it much more easier to have those more challenging conversations perhaps further down the line as well, because if people are just used to having one-to-ones with you, just becomes part of the culture and just becomes how we do things around here. So actually, I can get used to saying, this is what I did well, this is what I think I could have done differently. And as line managers, we can get into that mindset as well and build those behaviours that supports that. We can have regular team meetings. We can think about what those meetings are for. So it's not meetings for meeting's sakes, but it's, you know, are there meetings that are around creating understanding about how the business is doing, and therefore what decisions we're making in the business and how that impacts the team? Is it about updates? Is it about team meetings that we want to maybe have more of a team build approach? So that the purpose of them is more about, you know, building those collaboration skills and those relationships. If we're clear about our purpose and our outcome, we can have meetings, we can have one-to-ones, or whatever that communication vehicle is. We can do those effectively, and we can do them consistently. And that enables us to hold people to account for non-delivery, also in a timely way as well. And if we're doing these things regularly, it should mean that we are less likely, I won't say never, because you can never say never, but you're less likely to have difficult conversations, because we will be dealing with things, having conversations in a more relational and timely way before things kind of escalate. So we also need to be brave, though, and step in and have those difficult conversations when they are required, and where possible to know where to go for support. So is it, you know, a business advisor? Is it a HR person? Is there somebody else in the business more experienced or more knowledgeable? Who is, or who are your support mechanisms, your support people that you need in place, and can help you when you have got a question or you have got a query, so that you can keep communicating effectively. And really importantly, as part of your people strategies, we need to be building in things that allow us to celebrate success, reward and recognise achievement, and, you know, make it something that everybody does. So it's not just something the boss does or the business owner does. You know, we all can recognise the good work that we do in the business and with and alongside each other. Okay, so trust and collaboration then. All of these things for me build and interrelate. So if we don't have clear objectives and we haven't, you know, we're not really sure what we're here to do, and we don't communicate effectively, what tends to happen is we engender a culture of a lack of trust. So relationships don't build. We don't have relationships. We don't have great or any or many much trust. And if I don't trust as a business owner or a leader, I'm very likely to fall back into micromanagement. So I'm likely to give you something to do and then keep checking in. And then when it's not done in the way that I want it to, or in the timescale that I want it to, I might take it off them altogether, or I might just do them, or I might give them some suggestions, or start telling. All in all, that becomes really frustrating as an individual, really frustrating as a line manager, but subtly, slowly starts to eat into our level of trust. And without trust, we don't collaborate, and all of the other things we're trying to do in our business just fall by the wayside. So if you are doing it, if you know you're prone to do it, and some people do it because we are, you know, control freaks, you've got to recognise you're doing it. So take time to step back and reflect and think about what you're doing and how you're doing it and what the impact is on your team. And if you're already asking for feedback, if you're already having those one-to-ones and those conversations, they should feel comfortable to kind of be able to say to you, you know, this is what you're doing, this is the impact it's having. And as you are able to have those conversations with them, understand why you're doing it. So sometimes micromanagement is a symptom of something else that is or isn't happening in the business. So it might be that taking that step back and thinking about why you're doing it is because actually that person might need some training, or they don't have the experience, or maybe we need another pair of hands, or we need a different focus. So sometimes just taking that step back and thinking about what's going on here, why am I doing it, can really help to shine a light on a bigger opportunity. when you take on somebody, it's quite easy to assume that they've got no experience, and maybe they've got no experience in your business, but you don't know what they did previously in their life. You don't know what else they've done unless you ask them, unless you really find out. Sometimes they may not have worked in the same industry or in the same job, but some of their previous experience may still be very relevant. They may have stuff, skills, knowledge, behaviours that will absolutely be transferable into your business. So talk to them, find out what they've got, what they know, what they've done, how that they, that can build into the things that you want them to do, and how you want them to work within your team. And also do things with your team. So I've mentioned team builds already, but think about how you can have experiences together that will enable that collaboration. So maybe it's a creativity session where you all come together and you think about how to solve a particular business problem. Maybe it's I don't know, a celebration of something on a Friday afternoon, or everybody brings in cakes, or whatever it is. Think about your vision, your mission, what's right for your business and what fits with your team and your business. But getting people to do things together, working alongside each other and solving problems, is a great way to build trust and collaborate. Remember to make allowances for those that are new and are learning, because not everybody will pick it up straight away. Some people will be brand new to the world or your world, and some people pick things up quicker than others. So, if you've told somebody something and they say yes, they've understood, maybe they're just saying yes. Maybe they do understand. So check out, check in, make allowances, and put in some maybe some milestones or measures for success that will allow you to really support people as they're taking on new tasks or new skills, or they're embedding into that new role. Oops, out of sync. Make sure that you delegate. So something that really supports the building of trust is delegation with appropriate follow-up. So that will relieve time and pressure from you as a business owner. But first of all, you need to be clear about what you're delegating and why. And delegation is not abdication. So just because we delegate something doesn't mean that we wash our hands of it and never see it again. We delegate appropriately to either stretch and grow somebody, and we make sure we've got the regular check-ins and measures and support in place, or we delegate because somebody is really experienced and we know we can trust them to do a great job, and what we want them to do is to take that task off of us, but we still expect them to update us and keep us up to date with where we're at. I've already mentioned this one: set clear expectations, standards, measures. This is part of the goal setting, but it's also part of ongoing day-to-day working with somebody. So as you give them a new task, as you give them or stretch them and grow them, making sure they're really clear about what that looks like, what the measures of success are, and think about how you can take calculated risks with people. So if you want to stretch and grow somebody, what can you do that is a safe or a safe risk, a safe thing to give them, so that you're stretching them, you're putting them out of their comfort zone so they can learn that thing, but you're not throwing them in at the deep end, and you're not putting your business at risk. So it might be something that you do alongside them first of all, and then the next time they do it and you watch, but you don't have any input, and then you give elements of it to them that they can then do and feed back to you on, till ultimately you're in that place where you're happy that you can delegate completely. Planning effectively and managing your time effectively are crucial within all of this. So knowing what your role is, what you do and are accountable for versus everybody else, will help with your planning and will help with your time management. And if you then find that you're focusing your time doing things that are outside of your remit or the role that you've carved out for yourself, then obviously reflecting and maybe taking some feedback and doing that deep dive into, why am I doing it? What's causing me to do it? Is it a lack of trust? Is it a lack of skills on my part, team's part? Is there something else in the business that's going on that I need to address? And really importantly, building trust is all about showing vulnerability. So being able to appropriately share that you don't know something, or that you don't know it right now, but you can go away and find out, or that actually you're struggling with something. If you can support those behaviours and share with your team, they will be more likely to share those sorts of things with you. So saying, do you know what, I'm really struggling at the moment because I'm not sure on what my priorities are. I need to go away or I need a conversation with somebody to help me work it through. Will encourage your team to be able to do the same with you, or with another team member when they need that support themselves. I'm not saying absolutely that it's about going, oh my gosh, the world's a nightmare, I can't cope, because that's something completely altogether different. But being able to show appropriate vulnerability will help you build trust within your team. Okay, so I appreciate I've just dumped an awful lot of stuff at you for the last sort of 50 minutes or so. Does all of that make sense? Does all of that kind of resonate with you?
Yeah, it does to me, Chrissy. Yeah, it's as building something that we built up to this date, and now looking to sort of set a team on. I think the more information, the more help we've got to get it right before we start making mistakes, the better. So yeah, it's been really good.
Brilliant, thank you. Okay, so do I have permission then to just share with you the process that I use with small business owners to help address some of these things?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, thank you. Okay, so I have a 6-month leadership program. It's called the Fundamentals of Leadership. It will help put in place the processes, the systems, the procedures from a people perspective that you need to support those 3 things that we've just spoken about. So the process is very simple. So it's an application conversation, first of all. So 30 minutes with me on the phone, just to try and understand what it is that you're wanting to achieve in your business, what it is that you are ultimately looking to achieve. And then if it's right for you, the program is something that you can consider, but it's not right for everybody. So it's absolutely not about trying to sell here. It's about helping you through a 30-minute conversation decide what is best for your business. If you do decide it's right for you, though, there's a diagnostic and a debrief. So that's very much about using a diagnostic tool to help you understand your current leadership strengths and potential opportunities for growth for you as a leader. And that's then followed up by 6 3-hour monthly workshops. So I'll share some of the content of the workshops in a moment. There will be weekly group support, so an hour on Zoom where if I'll just sit on Zoom with a coffee, and if the group wants, can come in and ask questions, check in and see where you're up to with some of the activities that you've tried or are putting in place since the monthly workshop. That I'm also available on the phone for ad hoc support. So if you've got a quick question or a quick call, we can jump on and support with that. They'll all be delivered on Zoom, these workshops, so there'll be recording of the sessions that you can refer back to, along with a workbook. So what is the content of those workshops? So the first one is about knowing self, and for me, knowing yourself as a leader is really important. It's key to everything. So knowing where you start, knowing where your strengths are, how you can leverage those strengths, and maybe thinking about how you can either look to develop or put things in place to help you with some of your blind spots or your development gaps is really key, because as I showed you on one of the previous models, everything starts with us as a business owner, what we do, what we don't do, what we say, what we don't say. So really having that self-awareness and that clarity of us is key. Then the next module is about that alignment of our vision, our purpose, and setting our strategic goals. So hopefully they will already be in place already, but if not, we can help create those and get you to a place where you're really clear about what is my my reason for being, what is my purpose, what are my goals, and actually what are the people strategies then that I need to put in place to help me achieve those. Then we've got a module on conversations that make a difference. So some input, some training on transactional versus transformational conversations, where we're focusing our conversations currently, how to have those really effective conversations that help people understand what's expected of them, how we can hold those conversations where we're holding people to account. And really importantly, it links directly to the first module, which is about, you know, how we communicate those strategic goals through our people so that they absolutely mean something to everybody. I understand my role, I understand your role, I understand how the two sit together, but I understand how they both are driving the business forward. Then we've got a module on managing your team. So again, some fundamental elements of what's, you know, a team versus a group. How do you manage and motivate people effectively? What are some of the core foundational things that you need to have in place in order to manage that team? We've then got some skills around making judgments, strategic judgments, and sound decisions, and some tools to help you do that. And then the final module is kind of pulling it all together. So in between each of those modules, at the end of each module, there'll be an opportunity to go away and put some actions in place in your business. 3 or 4 weeks in between each module so that you've got that time to really go away and think about what it is you want to put in place and create that structure. Try it maybe if it's something that you want to go away and try, or have those conversations where you're creating that element. But by the time we come to the pulling it all together session, it really is about you have a plan, you have a process in place, and that pulling it all together is literally as it says on the tin. It's about making sure everything you've got in place where you want it to be, and it's aligned with your business, and you've got some very clear actions about how to kind of take that forward for you and your team. Okay. So, any questions?
No, that was really good, Chrissy. I just want to apologise for being late.
Oh, that's okay. I'm recording it, Kathy, so I can pop you the record.
Lovely. Thank you. For some reason, I had it in my head as being 2 o'clock, and I just popped my laptop on. I was like, so I am sorry. But no, it was really interesting. And obviously what I do and what you do, we have some overlap. So it's really, but I can see it's really a different angle that you're coming from as to where I go in. So yeah, a lot of that made perfect sense to me.
Brilliant.
Yeah, nothing from me, Chrissy. That was really good. Thank you. We can chat offline, can't we?
Yeah, brilliant. Okay, so for the benefits of the people that are watching this recording, if you would like to book a 30-minute strategy call in with me, the link is on the screen there. I've got availability until Monday. So book a call in, let's have a chat and see how I can help.
Lovely.
Okay.
Thank
Thank
you
all very much. Thank you. Bye.
Thanks, Chrissy. Thank you.